Alright, YouTube, it is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Wednesday evening, October 23rd, 2019. It is about 10 o'clock at night. My son is in bed. It's been a little bit over a week since I made a video. It's because I was fighting a cold and I had this just hacking cough. And, well, I didn't want to make a video. I was coughing like a fiend. So I may still cough in this video. I do apologize if that's not your thing or it weirds you out. Feel free to skip on through. You won't hurt my feelings. I'm Mr. Mean and I don't care. Let's get some housekeeping out of the way. As always, like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Let's grow the Meanie Army. We've had quite a few new subscribers as of late, which is weird because I usually get more as I post videos, but I haven't posted a video in like almost, what, a week and a half? Almost 2 weeks. So thank you, a huge thank you to the new subscribers. Let's see if my stupid phone will, I'm not very smart when it comes to these iPhones. But it's a free phone, so I won't complain. We are sitting at 572 subscribers. So a big shout out to Rafael Guerrera, Melissa Shelton, Kenneth Gallivan, Salty Monkey, awesome name, dude, or dudette. I'm assuming it's a guy, but you never know. And then Iron Shamrock 13 is the latest subscriber. So thank you guys for subscribing. It means a lot. Helps grow the channel. And again, I do this for fun. I did get some constructive criticism. Somebody posted a comment that said, dude, I'm 23 minutes into your video and all I know is that the business model of the two companies that you work for, you know, kind of a little bit of a ding on me. And then he says at the end, oh, it's constructive criticism. I don't know if he enjoyed the video or not. I'm assuming he didn't. But, you know, constructive criticism is just that. It's constructive criticism. I do rant and babble a lot on my videos, but it's not a professional channel. I don't get paid to do this. I do it for fun. I do it for my own mental health and sanity. It gives me something to focus on as I deal with the trials and tribulations that life throws at all of us. So it's just a way that I keep mentally healthy, if that makes sense. I don't know. Today's video, so first and foremost, a big thank you to all the new subscribers and to the shout outs and all to the current subscribers and everybody. As always, I'm on MeWe, I'm on Discord, I'm on PayPal, PayMe, and I'm on ZellyPay. So if you'd like to donate to the channel, ZellyPay and or PayPal, PayMe are two excellent options. Feel free. Be aware that anything that's donated to the channel goes back into the channel, and I use it to pay for my addiction. I mean my hobby. Other than that, I hope everybody's having a fantastic week, and let's get down to the video du jour. Today is a blast from the past, 2001. This game is almost 19 years old. It had very strong cult following, but it just never got traction. And when this game came out, I believe I was living in California. And my good friend Brian Isaacoff and I found this game. And I don't think we ever got a chance to play it, but man, did we talk about playing it. The game in question is from Driftwood Publishing, The Riddle of Steel. Now, this one is in pristine condition. I've had it since day one when it came out in 2001. This is a hardback, stitch spiral bound or stitch glue binding. It is held up quite well. I've read through it a couple of times, and like I said, you can see it's in excellent condition. This is the only role-playing game that I'm aware of that is the Association for Renaissance Martial Arts, the ARMA.org. Sadly, though, this game is out of print and out of publication. You can't even buy it on Drive-Thru-RPG. But the company that originally made it, or Jacob Norwood and his crew that used to be over at Driftwood Publishing, which the website is now dead. It used to be the riddleofsteel.com. This was $34.95 US brand new, and you can buy it at most game and hobby stores. I don't know if Amazon has it. I did not look, but now that you know the name of it, I'm sure eBay may have a copy. You might even find it at your local game store in a discount bin or something. But it's a cool game. It is a very different take I almost hearken this to, and I think games like, excuse me, games like, I'm drawing a blank now. DCC, what's the other game I'm thinking of? Warhammer, where this game was highly influenced by them, but wanted something a little more realistic. So we do have a very grim setting. It's the planet of Wayworth, or Worth, Earth. It's spelled funny. Weyrth, Worth, Earth, Worth. And all of these locations, a full color map in the back of the book, which is pretty well done. I gotta say, I do like it. It gives you all the locations on there. That's about all it does. They did have 3 supplements that came out, and I have 2 of these. I have Of Beast and Men and The Flower of Battle. I have those 2 books, physical books. I do not have Sorcery and the Fae. I don't know if it was ever actually released. If you have a copy of it, kudos. But the other 2 I do have, because they did release books. So let's first do like I always do. Of course, I already said it's hardback. It's sewn and glued binding. It's held up very well over the years. I often go back to this book and look at it because it just intrigues me. I never have had the opportunity to run this nor play it. I wanted to many times. I kept trying to bring it to the table, but the mechanics always threw me off, and I just couldn't find anybody that was interested in trying it. But I do think that it is very innovative and a very cool game, and Jacob and his crew have since created Blade of the Iron Throne, and this is it can black and white or color PDF that you can order off of DriveThruRPG. I believe you can get it in several different formats. Yeah, you can get it hardcover premium color book for $59.95 direct through DriveThruRPG, or you can get a soft cover, or you can get the PDFs, hardcover and watermark PDF plus the actual physical book. So you can get the PDF and you can get the book, either hardcover or softcover. So that's very cool. And the prices are varying. You can look on DriveThruRPG. I'll include a link down in the show notes. And so I guess they took what they liked. I don't know anything about it because I don't own it, and I just haven't had a chance to pick it up. It is one on my radar to pick up. I just found out about it tonight, to be honest. I was thinking of what I wanted to do a video of, and I was like, ooh, I want to check that out. And so this was sitting up on my shelf. You can see the blank spot right there, which is where it was sitting. So this was published in 2001 by Jacob Norwood and Driftwood Publishing. I do remember the website. I did go to it, and I did download everything they had on the website at the time. I think I still have the stuff. It's a very different game mechanic, and we'll go into that in a second. And I think that's what kind of hurt the game, because 2001 was the glut of 3.0 and 3.5. At the tail end of that, and so this was not a D20 based game, and I think that, I don't want to say it hurt it, but it was just at that time when WotC ruled the roost. Everybody was playing D&D and playing 3.5 and those derivative of games, and there was a glut of games that came out that used the open game license or the OGL, and this was so far removed from it because it was a very gritty, very dirty combat mechanic and skill system, and it I still don't have my head fully wrapped around it because I haven't played it. I'm one of those guys that I need to play the game in order to fully understand it and or make a character. It's one of those things that a lot of times for any game that I'm going to run, I will make 2 or 3 characters just to wrap my head around the character creation mechanic in the process, because a lot of games have different processes or nuances, and this is definitely one of them. It is a cool game mechanic. There's a full character creation process with examples. So if you like gritty realism with very, very, very lethal combat, this is the game you want. If you want to play Conan, obviously if that is not evocative of any of the Conan movies you've seen, then I don't know what else can be more evocative of that. Especially the Jason Momoa Conan, because that broken sword features prominent in it, if I remember correctly, with Ron Perlman as his dad, which I just thought was amazing because I'm a huge Ron Perlman fan and a huge Jason Momoa fan. So anyway, check out the Conan movie. It wasn't the greatest Conan movie, but if you're a Jason Momoa fan, then you may well enjoy it. I enjoyed it for what it was. But this is black and white. The only color page is that, like I said, that last page, which is the map, and it's a glossy page. The art in the book, it's clearly written. There's a couple typos and spelling errors, but that's par for the course with RPGs. Even Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder have spelling errors and grammatical errors. It's just, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know if it's because it's a role-playing game or it's not, classic literature that they don't put a fine-tooth comb on it, or a lot of these games are self-published or small press publications, and so they don't have the money to hire, a full-time editor and proofreader to look at their books and make sure they're perfect. But this one's pretty good, and I feel it's written pretty well. I love the examples because in every section, every chapter, as they're going through things, they give you pertinent examples. So that's really good. There is a full-fledged landscaped character sheet in the book, and it's it's par for the time. It's nothing amazing, and they put it this way in the book so that you could get more space. I'm sure if you surf the web, you can find it. This game does use a dice pool mechanic, and it uses D10s and D6s. It has a very different mechanic system. We'll go into a little bit of that later. It's 234 pages. Like I said, black and white, one color plate at the back of the book. The art is hit or miss. This is what I call an indie press game. It's not even available anymore, but it is a couple of guys that decided to put out a role-playing game because they wanted something different. They wanted something more realistic, and that's where this game shines, in its realism of combat and fighting with Zweihanders and bastard swords and glaives and, whips and whatever else that you have. So it's very, very realistic, as much as a simulation game can simulate. So it's very well done in that aspect. But the art in here is hit or miss. And again, small press game, can't pay for a whole lot of great art. I think if this game was to come out in this day and age with Kickstarter, I think it would have had much better art. But there are flashes of brilliance in here, and there are pieces of art that are really good. And then there are pieces of art that I think just suck. And there's no other polite way to put it. I think they suck. You may like them. I don't. But the dwarf there, or whatever that is, reminds me of the classic Warhammer dwarf. I think it's very well drawn. I would have liked to have seen it a little bit bigger so we could get more of the detail. But then again, there's a female here. And, it's not horrible. It looks okay. But then you get pieces. And then there's another one that I think is actually pretty decent. I kind of like that drawing. It's this guy, and, it looks like maybe leather armor, and he's ready to kick some ass and take some names. I don't want to run into this guy in a dark alley. But then you have pieces of art like this, where the symmetry is just completely off. You can tell that this person has a hard time drawing faces. He has a couple of other pieces. This artist has a couple of other pieces in here, and you can tell he's got anatomy okay, but you can tell he's not a professional artist, and it's a hobby. There's some pieces of the art which are just downright, I don't know what to call them. They're bled out. They're too dark. It's all pencil drawings. Some of it's okay. I'm trying to find some of it. They kind of went almost like a Warhammer first edition feel, which again is fine, but they could have cleared it up. I think this one's pretty good. Just the chainmail bikini doesn't work, obviously, as you can see. And you don't see too many pieces of art in role-playing games where you see a woman warrior that's hurt. And she's got an arrow pretty much right through her heart. So I like the interpretation. I like the emphasis that the art puts on it. I just am not necessarily a fan of the art. Some of it, like I said, is really good. Some of it is really bad. Your mileage may vary. Some of it's just very blurry, like it was photocopied a couple too many times and put in here. And I just don't know if that was the time. I don't believe publishing was that bad back in 2000s, because we had some really neat books, from other game designers, and they looked fine. So the art's just not for me. Some of it's passable or okay. Where this game really shines is, like I said, in the writing. You definitely, again, it's no fault of the game. I don't grasp the mechanics until I run the game and I play it, and then I squeeze out everything I can out of it between my players and myself. They don't call a GM a dungeon master or GM. You're a seneschal. It's just what they went with, and that's fine. A lot of games do it. Deadlands, you're a marshal. That kind of stuff. So, one of the cool things about the system is you have target numbers between 2 and 22, and that target number is the number of successes you need. Then you have degrees of successes, and your degrees of the successes will go, 0 is a failure, 1 is a normal success or a narrow success, and then up to 5 is flawless. That's a genius, because you're rolling a pool of D10s in most cases, and then you're going to count anything. Typical target number is a 6. So anything above a 6 and above is a success. So you got a 50-50 chance on a 10-sided die. The problem is you're going to have degrees of success and obviously the target number. So if you have a target number of 2, you need 2 successes, and then anything above that is your degrees of success, and so you'll get it there. So obviously it makes it more difficult, and it's a slippery slope there. I don't quite agree with that mechanic because it's a little bit confusing and different, but I get what they were going for. Your skill ratings range from a 3 to a 13, with the lower skill rating being better. So a 3 in a skill is way better than a 13, because that also has to do with, it's going to affect your target numbers. You're going to determine how many dice you roll by your attributes. Your skills, there's like a target number. So everybody with an average skill of 6, that's going to be your target number. So that's kind of where that default 6 comes into place. Then your attributes are going to determine how many dice you get to roll. Now there's traits in here, and there's advantages. What were they called? Gifts and flaws. Gifts are just what they sound like. They're gifts. They make things better. Flaws, just what they sound like. They make things worse. What's neat about that is you can, depending on how you prioritize your points. If you've played Shadowrun, it's that kind of character build where you have a chart and you have to prioritize A, B, C, D, and E. And if you put your attributes in A, you're going to get more points. If you put magic in A, you're going to get better magic, because there is magic in this game. It's kind of not the focal point, and I kind of feel like it was thrown in to include it to make it a fantasy game. But it's not I don't feel it's as much of an emphasis as the martial part of the game, the combats. You have your attributes, excuse me, and you have temporal and mental attributes, and these are what are going to form your dice pools. So on your temporal side, that's your physical attributes. You're going to have strength, agility, toughness, endurance, and health. On your mental side, you're going to have willpower, wit, mental aptitude, social, and perception. And then you're going to have a set of spiritual attributes, which are not as important to the everyday gameplay, but to your character progression and to your character life and to your character development. They are important. But it's not enough to go into here, and it's something that as you read it, it will make more sense. It's not something I want to expound upon in this Mr. Mean review. So that's really my notes of the game. Initiative is figured by, you have stances in combat, and then you'll have a red and a white die. And basically when the GM or the seneschal says that, okay, I need initiative, you're going to grab a red dice for attack, and you're going to grab a white dice for defense, and you're going to figure out which one you want right away. And then the GM's going to say go. And basically everybody that's involved in the combat is going to throw their dice down. So everybody who went on the attack is going to throw a red dice. It's going to break down by your agility. who gets to go, who acts first. And then same thing for defense. And then the attack and defense are going to dictate what stances you can be in. And then, of course, there are flaws and gifts that are going to affect that as well. So you can build the type of character you want. You want a Florentine character, somebody that uses 2 swords. Do you want like a knife fighter that maybe uses a dagger and a buckler? You know, that kind of thing. You want a guy who uses maybe a trident and a net like a gladiator. You can do all of that in this game, and there's pros and cons to every one of them. You want to use like a hand and a half sword, or you want to use a Zweihander. You can do that, but it's going to affect your combat style because those weapons can only do certain things. Like a Zweihander is not very good in close combat, up close. A guy with the short sword or a dagger or dual daggers or a dagger and a buckler is going to get in close to you. And if he does, he's going to make your life miserable, whereas you're going to have a hard time maneuvering that large weapon. And they take that into account. And like I said, this game is certified by ARMA, which is the, I forgot, they're part of, or they were, at least at one time, I think they were part of the SCA, and they split off. The Association for Renaissance Martial Arts. So, in my opinion, it's a very cool game. It's, if nothing else, it's a great, dare I say, historical read as far as how medieval martial arts went, because there's a lot of fact in here. In fact, some of the art looks like it was taken out of a medieval training guide, with their the guys in pantaloons, you know, the big flowery pants like the French would wear, and like a fencing catalog. I'm trying to see if I can find a quick picture, because I know there's a couple in here. And like I said, the magic section's sorcery is pretty deep, and it goes into quite a bit of detail. But I got the feeling that it was not the main focus of the game, which nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it was. Yeah, this is just some free clip art that I think they were, you know, domain free art that they were able to use. So I think it's a cool game. I think if you want to go down memory lane, or you're a big fan of Warhammer but you don't like the high fantasy that Warhammer has, you can go with something like this and play. If you're a guy that's not into magic, because you can run this and take the magic section out of it, and you don't even have to, you know, acknowledge it exists, and the game will be just fine. If you want to play, if you're maybe religious biased or religious preferenced, and you don't want all the fantasy stuff in there, but you want to play a medieval game, you know, this would totally work. You know, because you don't have to have orcs. You can have all just protagonists. I mean, you can really do that with any game, but they're not as prevalent in this type of game as they are, like, say, in Pathfinder or Dungeons and Dragons or Palladium Fantasy, you know, where fantasy races are just that. So, it's a very cool game. It's very realistic combat system. The other cool thing, and it's on the back of the book, no annoying player and or GM's guide to buy, because it was at that glut, like I said, the glut of the 3.5 games, and you know, everything was in here. They did come out with 3 other source books. I've only seen 2 of them, and like I said, I have those 2. I have them both in softback. I don't know if they were actually put out in hardback, but they're both very, you know, I have the 2 softback books in there. They're pretty good. Art is very similar. You know, like I said, they weren't going to win any art contest, in my opinion, but the art was thematic to the book and fits. It's just, like I said, it's not my style of art. That's just me. You may look at it and go, Mr. Mean's crazy. I love this art. But so that's Riddle of Steel. Jacob Norwood, Driftwood Publishing. It is now defunct, but Jacob does have a new game company on DriveThruRPG. I'll put a link in the notes. Blade of the Iron Throne. It takes you back to, let's see, it says Blade of the Iron Throne is a licensed successor game of blood red sword and sorcery, inspired by the pulp tales of authors such as Clark Ashton Smith, Manly Wade, Robert E. Howard, Fritz Lieber, blah, 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 blah. Do you have a taste for exciting melee rules that emphasize using maneuvers and pressing advantage over your opponent, not simply taking turns hitting each other? Does the gaming group insist on the story being player-driven rather than referee-driven? Do you lament the fact that there is so little gaming material out there that supports the sword and sorcery literary genre? If you answered yes to any or even all of these questions, then fire up your Basil Polduris Conan soundtrack and get gaming, because Blades of Iron Throne has been designed for you and your gaming group. It's in full color. I don't know for sure if it's Jacob Norwood. I'm assuming that. I hate to use the assumption. No, it's by Philip Jones and Michael Hyder. So maybe they were inspired by this, and it's kind of how it reads now that I'm looking at it. But anyway, I will put that up in the show notes so that you can take a look at it, and if it's something you want to buy, because like I said, this may be hard to find. Let me see if eBay has it. If they do, I'll include a link. I'm just going to my web browser here, and I'm waiting for eBay to load. There we go. There we go. And we'll do a search for Riddle of Steel. Steel PG. Let's see if we find anything. It's thinking. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Look at this. It's on eBay. Pre-owned. Looks like it's in good shape. For $68.74. It's being watched. And then the Riddle of Steel Flower of Battle, brand new, $140. So obviously that's a complete ripoff. $65 looks to be the going price. And there's only 2 people selling it, or 3. There's 3 books. 2 for the core book and then 1 for the Flower of Battle, which is a ridiculous price. I would never. That's just downright stupid. But anyway, it's on eBay, so you can find it on eBay. I will include a link to the Blade of the Iron Throne Color Edition, just because I think that's pertinent, and it is basically the predecessor to this game. And it's licensed. I guess they got permission to use the game mechanics or something. I don't own it, so I can't speak of it. But that's anyway my thoughts on Riddle of Steel. I think if you can come across it at a decent price, it's well worth having in your gaming library. If you're a grognard like me and you like to collect role-playing games, it's an interesting read, and you may enjoy it, you may not. But if you have it, if you've seen it, let me know. More importantly, if you've gotten to play it, let me know. I'd like to know what your thoughts were. Did you enjoy the game? Did you like it? Did you feel like you had some control? What did you make? I know combat in the game is extremely lethal. It is definitely one of those games that they point out, don't start a fight unless you know for sure that you can win it, because there's very little magical healing in the game, and if you decide to play the game with no magic, then there is no magical healing, and it literally takes months to recover from a wound, and there is a chance you could die from sepsis and infection and all that, because it was kind of medieval times and they didn't have really good healers. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think about Riddle of Steel. If there's a game or an RPG that you want reviewed and you're the publisher or the designer, feel free to send me a PDF or physical copy. Reach out to me at jpolak@gmail.com. That's also my drive-through RPG email. So if you want to just send me a PDF copy and you want me to review it, please say so. Be aware that I try to do honest and, in my opinion, reviews. I will put a disclaimer that the game was purchased for me by said company, but that doesn't guarantee you a positive review. I'm going to read the game, and if I like it or I don't like it, that's what I'm going to say. So that's how it works. But that's just my opinion of the game. Your mileage may vary. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope you're all doing well. Peace, love, and happiness. And as always, Mr. Mean says, be nice.